You are all invited to come down to the lake. So please jump on a bus, jump on a bike. Well, the bike could be tough on the way back. Maybe use your car or scooters. Come and join us by the lake to watch the World Cup, to support all the athletes racing. This afternoon we'll have 10 more races, and one of the races that you have not to miss is the 8. Men's 8, women's 8, a lot of action and a lot of fun. We've got also a fun zone, so please don't miss the World Rowing Cup, the real unique event that Varese is hosting this weekend. Back to the tower for the action now.
Grazie Luca. So we're back with the afternoon schedule. In just 5 minutes time we'll be getting underway, starting with 4 preliminary races with the PR2 women's single, men's single, and then we'll go into the preliminary race for the PR2 mixed doubles, followed by the PR3 mixed 4. After that, we'll have the exciting quarterfinals of the men's single sculls. Rather cruelly, from the heats earlier on today, there was just one sculler who doesn't make it through to the quarterfinals. That was Estonia 2, not making the time to get through. But the next progression in the quarterfinals, in each of the 4 races that we have there, we're going to see positions 1 and 3 advance on to tomorrow's semi-finals in the men's single sculls. And as Luca was saying, then it's time for the big noisy boats. The women's and men's 8 will round off our session today. Both preliminary races where they're racing again for the lanes, all competing here, which will round off day 1 of World Cup Varese.
Meno di 5 minuti alla partenza del programma pomeridiano, 10 gare per concludere appunto questa giornata, questa prima giornata alla Coppa del Mondo di Varese. 4 preliminari race dedicate alle discipline para-rowing. Iniziamo con il singolo femminile PR2, 2 gli equipaggi in gara, poi a seguire il singolo maschile PR2, in questo caso 6 gli equipaggi saranno in blocchi di partenza. Si passerà quindi al doppio misto con altri 2 equipaggi in partenza e poi il 4 con, sempre misto, con 5 equipaggi in gara. A seguire 4 quarti di finale per il singolo maschile, che questa mattina ha disputato le batterie appunto per poi giungere ai quarti di finale. Dai quarti di finale si selezioneranno gli equipaggi singolisti per le semifinali di domani. A concludere questo pomeriggio di gare saranno le 2 preliminari race riservate all'8, inizialmente con la specialità femminile e poi a concludere quella maschile.
So the good news is we are underway for the afternoon session. Our first race of the afternoon is underway, the PR3 women's single scull. This is the preliminary race, just two boats competing here between Mexico and Germany, and they are coming up on the first few hundred meters to get us into the afternoon session, followed by the men's race after this, where we have a 5-boat race between Ireland, Czechia, Ukraine, Uzbekistan, Turkey and Great Britain. 6 boats in the next race in the PR2 men's single. But out on the water at the moment, leading it out, it is Kiewik of Germany, who has opened up a lead, settled into a nice race pace, really consistent with the boat speed coming up to the first 500 metres. She's leading it out ahead of the very experienced Gutierrez Vieira, who we know from came 9th at the Para Games in the mixed double scull. Also a long history of racing in mixed double and also in quad events as well. But here it looks like it's the German sculler leading it out just as they come through the first few hundred meters.
È partita puntuale la prima preliminary race, quella riservata al singolo femminile PR2, 2 le atlete in gara, all'acqua 1 Messico con Angels Gutierrez, all'acqua 2 Tirza Kiewik della Germania. Partenza rapida per l'atleta tedesca che si è messa davanti. Sono 2 le atlete che comunque sono già in finale e utilizzeranno a mio avviso questo percorso per affinare la loro preparazione in funzione della finale stessa, quindi un modo per testare il campo di regata, un modo per testare l'attrezzatura, la propria condizione fisica. L'assegnazione delle corsie con 2 equipaggi in gara di fatto cambia poco e quindi sicuramente lo staff tecnico e le atlete in gara in questo momento avranno deciso di utilizzare appunto questa occasione per ultimare gli ultimi dettagli e perfezionare quello che può essere il modo per affrontare al meglio la finale.
So the world's best time in this PR2 women's singles sculls was set by Katie O'Brien of Ireland in Poznan in 2022, and I'm sure Katie is tuned in at home because next up in the men's PR2 men's single race will be Tiernan O'Donnell, her doubles partner here racing in the single, and I'm sure that Katie, as well as all of the Irish supporters at home, will be cheering him on. So she has the world's best time set in Poznan in 2022, so it'll be interesting to see now if Mexico or Germany can get anywhere near that time of 9:14.65. With a little bit of a tailwind pushing the cruise down, it is a little bit faster than it was this morning, and they're coming up on the 800-metre mark and coming into view of Tim and Alexandra as well, and it's looking like the German sculler here, Kiewik, in full control, Tim.
Yeah, she looks so comfortable ahead, and to be fair to her, the damage was done in the first couple of strokes. She took off like a rocket, put a bit of a gap into the Mexican athlete to be right beside her, and then she just kept on moving, and she's doing so really, really impressively. Tirza Kiewik, the 28-year-old from Germany, learned to row at the Offenbacher Rudergesellschaft Undine, and well, she is sort of racing her race plan to perfection at the moment. She's about to cross into the second half of the race, and she'll be making sure she keeps her head cool, or at least as cool as one can be in these conditions. 31 degrees, high humidity here on Lago di Varese, but a very nice tailwind indeed. Across 1,000, there she goes, 5 minutes flat, so I don't think that best time will be matched or even beaten in this race, but the German athlete is looking so solidly ahead out in front. Giving chase though, it is Gutierrez Vieira from Mexico, who we've seen a lot of ever since she made her debut in 2017. And usually we see her racing in the mixed double, the PR3 mixed double. She made the B final in Paris at the Paralympic Games, where she finished 3rd in that B final. But she's here on her own, and she's about to cross into her second half of the race. But she's several lengths of clear water down on the German athlete, who has just stormed off. And compare relatively similar styles. I mean, this is the PR2 women's single sculls, so these athletes have the ability to use their backs and their arms and shoulders to propel the boat, and in terms of style they're quite similar. Similar rate of strokes a minute, but the speed, I mean, Kiewik from Germany gets just that little bit more speed every single stroke as she powers down into the third 500.
Ed ecco le prime due atlete ad aprire le gare del pomeriggio. Questa è la prima delle 4 preliminary race che avremo, quindi abbiamo il PR2 singolo femminile, dove abbiamo l'atleta tedesca Kiewek Teaser che sta dominando questa gara. È classe 96, è il suo debutto internazionale, quindi sicuramente sta imparando anche lei come svolgere il suo piano di gara, che porterà sicuramente a termine durante lo svolgimento di questi 2000 metri. A seguito c'è la messicana Gutierrez Viera, e solitamente siamo abituati a vederla nel doppio misto, e quindi adesso si sta comunque lanciando anche nel singolo femminile. È una paraolimpica, infatti l'abbiamo vista a Parigi 2024, è arrivata terza in finale B e ora appunto si sta scontrando con l'atleta tedesca in questo nuovo campo di prova per entrambe.
So the Mexican athlete still giving chase, and her partner at the Paralympic Games in Paris was, of course, Miguel Angel Nieto Carpio, who we'll see racing in the Mexican PR2 double in 2 races time. So we'll see her former partner on the water in a few minutes, and she's still giving it her best, still in the same style, similar speed all the way, so a very consistent race on her part as she gets closer to the penultimate timing mark at 1500 meters gone. But all eyes will be drawn towards the German athlete Teresa Kiewek from Germany, still at that 28-29 strokes a minute. And looking back at my research, this is actually her international debut at the senior level. So, and what a race she's having here on Lago di Varese to start your international career at 28 years old after a horrible car accident in 2021. She got in good shape. She now walks with a so-called C brace, which allows her to walk about and allows her to race here as well in this category. So a great showing from her. She's about to cross into the red boy area, so less than 250 meters to go, and I think it's time to hand it back to you, Richie, for the final few meters.
Thanks, Tim. And as you said, it is what a debut she's having here. More than a 200-meter lead as she comes in towards a run into the finish, more than clear water back to the experienced Mexican sculler in second place. Again, it is a preliminary race, so we might see a bit more competitive when we get into the all-important finals. The crews might be getting out there just to get a feel for how the course is running. Slight tailwind we mentioned as well, which will help the crews get down that bit quicker. But in full control here, Kiewek looking good with the Mexican in second.
Percorso utilizzato soprattutto dall'atleta tedesca per testare un po' la propria capacità di distribuirsi lungo il percorso. Guardando i dati abbiamo visto che ha fatto un primo 1000 metri molto, molto forte, stando sopra i 30 colpi al minuto, poi probabilmente si è distesa nel terzo 500 scendendo intorno ai 27-28 colpi, ma molto buona la sua velocità di barca, quindi ha mantenuto lo scafo sempre in scorrimento e quindi si sta involando adesso verso il traguardo. Sicuramente ha fatto un buon percorso che le servirà anche per registrare delle sensazioni utili per avere un riscontro, un feedback da condividere con il proprio staff tecnico.
So a very happy German sculler there, Teresa Kiewek, just crossing the line. Give her boat a little tap there to say well done, both for the boat and herself as she crosses well ahead of Gutierrez Vieira of Mexico, who's just coming into the 250-meter mark. And again, this is just the preliminary race for the PR2 women's singles, so we'll see how things line up when we get to the final later on in the weekend. Well, we're going to head straight back to the action as we move into the next preliminary race. It is the PR2 men's single scull 6-boat race here between Ireland, Czechia, Ukraine, Uzbekistan, Turkey and Great Britain. They've already gone off the start, and first the few hundred metres, it is Tiernan O'Donnell of Ireland who is leading it out. 36 strokes per minute, good and solid boat speed in lane 1 out on the far side. It looks like in second place at the moment it is Turkey, and then in third place, just coming up to the 500 metre mark, it looks like Uzbekistan. They're the 1, 2 and 3. And again, another preliminary race here, so they're racing for the lane order in the final in the PR2 men's single scull. But looking good so far for Tiernan O'Donnell. He continues to move away from the chasing pack and just opening up about a 10-metre lead ahead of Turkey. They're the 1 and 2 at the moment, with the Uzbekistani sculler in third place.
Passaggio ai primi 500 metri per la preliminary race del singolo maschile PR2, 6 gli equipaggi in gara. In questo momento è l'atleta irlandese O'Donnell a fare l'andatura, si è tallonato, seguito dall'atleta turco, poi Uzbekistan, Gran Bretagna, Ucraina e Turchia, questi i 6 contendenti per quella che sarà poi la finale della specialità, quindi un percorso 2000 metri anche per loro che servirà per assegnare le corsie della finale, ma anche sarà utile per, come dicevamo anche in campo femminile, per ultimare la preparazione nei dettagli più precisi per avere una performance di alto livello nella finale stessa.
So Tiernan O'Donnell laying down the benchmark here through the 500 metre mark, opening up about a little bit of a lead over Bozkurt of Turkey. The young 18-year-old sculler in second place, came 9th in the Para Games in the double most recently as well. So a lot of experience for that young 18-year-old sculler. And then Uzbekistan, another experienced young guy, 20 years of age. He's in third at the moment, holding off Curtis Dickens of GB. Artem Vikilev of Ukraine, another 18-year-old young field here in the PR2 mixed single, and Joseph Duchan of the Czechia just in 6th place at the moment. They're coming up towards 800 metres to go, and we're going to head straight up to Tim and see, and hopefully he'll give me that positive update that Ireland are leading it out.
And indeed, I can give that positive update for you, Richie, because it's still O'Donnell out in front, and he's dominating this race, no doubt about it. Still a couple of strokes left to go before he passes the 1,000-metre mark, and every few strokes he keeps a close eye on the rest of the field, because that Turkish sculler Bozkurt is giving chase, and right beside him, of course, we have the sculler from Uzbekistan, Boy Bolsinov, who is currently fighting for second and third at the moment. Then it's a bit of a gap back to the rest of the field with GB, Czechia, and the crew from I think that is the crew from Ukraine. Yes, indeed it is, and those are locked in a battle of their own, but the race out in front is very exciting indeed, with O'Donnell about a full length ahead of the 2 athletes from Turkey and Uzbekistan at the moment. So, and they are going absolutely hammer and tongs down the course into that third 500. Great racing from all athletes, but we're going to have a great ding-dong battle for the win here. So far, it's looking good for O'Donnell from Ireland, but he needs to keep a close eye on those 2 very quick athletes from Turkey and Uzbekistan.
Una preliminary race ricca di atleti che, nonostante remino da poco, infatti la maggior parte ha avuto il loro primo debutto internazionale solamente l'anno scorso, hanno comunque una grande esperienza a livello rimero, perché abbiamo 2 atleti che hanno partecipato alle Paralimpiadi di Parigi. L'atleta irlandese, che sta continuando a dominare e a fare l'andatura di questa gara con facilità, con leggiadria, sfruttando colpo per colpo tutta la lunghezza che riesce a recuperare. E l'altro atleta molto giovane, il turco, che è passato terzo ai 1000 e sta mantenendo la sua posizione, e sta combattendo però con l'atleta uzbeka, altro atleta abbastanza giovane, seguito invece dall'atleta ucraino, che sta combattendo anche lui per la sua posizione. Arrivati quasi ai 1500 metri, abbiamo di nuovo e sempre l'atleta irlandese a fare l'andatura di questa gara, Al secondo posto troviamo per adesso a difendere la sua posizione l'atleta uzbeka. Terza posizione invece possiamo trovare l'atleta turco e stanno mantenendo per adesso tutte la loro posizione. Troviamo una grande differenza di colpi, quindi anche una diversa strategia di gara, una diversa tipo di reazione muscolare, reattività muscolare nell'atleta uzbeka che sta mantenendo 40 colpi al minuto, incredibile, e l'atleta turco che invece ne sta mantenendo 32. L'atleta irlandese invece si mantiene avanti con 32-33 colpi al minuto e la gestisce la sua gara così. Un po' più nelle retrovie possiamo trovare invece l'atleta della Repubblica Ceca con colpi molto alti perché anche lui sta raggiungendo i 40 colpi al minuto. L'atleta ucraino gestisce la sua gara con 30-31 colpi al minuto e l'atleta della Gran Bretagna.
So coming into the final 500 meters, O'Donnell from Ireland still looking very strong ahead. And of course he got 2 silver medals at the World Cups last year, so he's looking to add a gold medal to his collection this weekend. He is, well, almost 4 seconds up on Boy Bolsinov from Uzbekistan, who is cleared, made a bit of a gap back to Bozkurt from Turkey in 3rd overall. Then there's a bit of a gap with Czechia and Great Britain. Curtis Dickens locked in a battle of their own for the places 4 and 5 at the moment, with Vik Liaev from Ukraine rounding off the field. But Richie, you'll be very pleased to see O'Donnell doing so well. So the final few hundred meters, all yours.
Absolutely, he's into the red boys now, and a difficult row out in lane 1 because inside him is the 6th place sculler at the moment from Czechia. He's down the course, so Tiernan O'Donnell out there on the far side has done it all his way, leading from the start through 500, 1,000 and the 1,500 metre mark, and he's winding up towards the line. You mentioned there, Tim, his debut on the international circuit last year, coming away with 2 silver medals at the World Cup Regattas before going on to get his place in the mixed double, where they came 8th in the Games in Paris. So last few strokes for Tiernan O'Donnell. He's coming in, and there's a real push on here for 2nd and 3rd between Boy Bolistinov of Uzbekistan and Bozkurt of Turkey. They're 2nd and 3rd. Just a little bit of clear water separating them out, and it looks like it is the Uzbekistani sculler ahead of Turkey. They're the 1, 2 and 3, and a little bit further back than the chasing pack of Czechia, Great Britain and Ukraine. So a good second half to the race there for Joseph Durkin of Czechia. He went from 6th all the way up into 4th place there, just behind Turkey, crossing the line in 4th place overall. And it was Ukraine in 5th ahead of Great Britain in 6th. And that closes out the preliminary race, PR2 men's single scull. Next up, it is going to be the preliminary race for the PR2 mixed double sculls between Mexico and Brazil. So we're back now with our next preliminary race. It is the PR2 mixed doubles between two boats. It's Mexico and Brazil lining up this time in. They've already gone through the first few 100 meters. Very little between them. Both of the crews striking different stroke rates here. Mexico up at 40 strokes per minute. Brazilian crew down at 35. New combination for Mexico, as Tim was mentioning. Different partners coming together for the mixed double this time. And the Brazilian really experienced double there. Came 9th in the pairs in the mixed double, as well as 11th at the World Championships back in 23. A lot of experience in the Brazilian boat, and it'll stand there to them. And it's a really close race so far. They're coming up on the 500 meter mark, and the Brazilians are just about leading it out at a rate of 34, coming through just with a just over 1 second advantage over the Mexican crew. So really tight race through 500, and even though it is just the preliminary race and the two boats there, quite competitive as they come through the first 500 meter marker. The Mexican coach Alejandra Menzi, we saw her being interviewed earlier on, taking charge of the crews that are here, and I'm sure we'll be happy to see that Mexico are in the mix as well, as will Franquilin Silva, the coach of the Brazilian crew. Side by side, they're matching each other here now, and as they settle into more of a race pace, it does look like the Brazilian crew just opening up a slight lead of 5 or 6 meters as they settle into the second half of this 500. But we're going to head up the course now, and hopefully Tim and Alessandra will give us more information. But exciting to see, even though it's a two-boat race here, Tim, they're quite level as they come into your view.
Yeah, but your analysis was spot on there, Richie. Well done seeing that all the way back from the finish tower. It is indeed the crew from Brazil who have sort of eked out a small lead, but if you look at the difference in speed, it is not really that significant. It's less than 1/10 of a kilometer an hour in terms of speed separating Brazil and Mexico in this stage of the race, but they are going all out, and it's fantastic to see the different styles. Brazil, low rating, 33 strokes a minute, but they get great efficiency every single stroke and perhaps a bit more length. And then right beside them we have Nieto Carpio and Galo Flores, that new combination from Mexico. High rate of striking, 39 strokes a minute, but also really efficient. And in these tailwind conditions, there's very little between them as they come towards the 1,000 meter mark. It is still Brazil though, increasing their lead, perhaps by, well, almost a full length. It's nearly a full length for the crew from Brazil coming past us at the 1,000, and they look so in control. Nice sharp catches from the Brazilian combination, sees them moving out and even eking out a bit of clear water ahead of the crew from Mexico whilst they row past us.
Due barche, due stili diversi di tecnica, di remata, di interpretazione della gara. Infatti possiamo trovare Messico che sta gestendo la gara con 40 colpi al minuto, quindi molta reattività muscolare, mentre il Brasile, un po' più tranquillità, gestisce la sua gara con 34 colpi al minuto, e sono appena passati dalla nostra torretta, quindi abbiamo potuto vedere il loro modo di remare. Sembra esserci molta sincronia tra i due atleti, e questo sicuramente aiuta la velocità della barca, aiuta la gestione di tutta la gara. Il prodiere messicano è un paraolimpico, quindi ha partecipato alle Paralimpiadi di Parigi nel 2024, arrivando terzo in finale B. E possiamo trovare anche un altro paraolimpico nella squadra brasiliana che sicuramente può aiutare questa nuova combinazione. Infatti Capovoga è arrivato secondo in finale B a Tokyo 2020.
So as you just heard, lots of experience in that boat, but it is the Mexican double who are slipping back ever so slightly in this third 500. I think the efficiency of the crew from Brazil is paying dividends in this stage of the race. Still at that 33 strokes a minute, like a metronome all the way down the course. I haven't seen them raising the rate for at least the middle 1,000, and I don't think they need to if they come into the final 500 meters to really race it to a sprint finish, because the gap has opened up to 22 meters. Having said that, Mexico pushing on, and at times they are as quick as the crew from Brazil, and sometimes just quicker, but it's only a smidge. And then they sort of lose that efficiency, they lose a bit of cohesion. You can see that it's a new combination, but they are making it work, and they are keeping the Brazilians honest all the way down the line as they approach the 1500 meter mark. Just crossed that now for Brazil, 6:24.48, and 6.5 seconds down is the crew from Mexico. But the crew from Mexico not giving in though, keeping that rate up high at 40 strokes a minute at the moment as they come towards you, Richie, and the Brazilians still at that. Well, they have actually raised the rate, 35 strokes a minute, so I think the crew from Brazil actually going for a bit of a push there.
They've been rock solid the whole way down here, and you said about how efficient they're rowing. They're also so consistent with the boat speed and the rate, and it gave them a really solid 1500 meters all the way down, and opening up that gap in the last 500 meters and extending it out as they come into the last quarter of this race here. The Mexican crew doing their best to get back into contention, and as Tim was saying, this push is coming on, and when the pushes come on, they are getting the boat speed up, but they need to get a lot more consistent with that to get back on level terms with the Brazilian crew here coming up as they approach 250, and the Red Boys looking good so far for the Brazilian crew. They've done all the hard work in the first few hundred meters, and now they're carrying it into the last quarter.
Brasile continua a condurre questa preliminary race del doppio misto PR2, come diceva bene Alessandra, due stili di gara differenti, velocità non troppo differenti, ma frequenza di colpi completamente diversa, 33-34 per i primi 1500 metri da parte dell'equipaggio brasiliano, 39-40 per il Messico, che mantiene sempre un ritmo molto alto. Adesso nell'ultimo quarto di finale un paio di colpi in più anche per il Brasile, che probabilmente sta provando a incrementare il ritmo per vedere come reagisce la barca, e molto costante comunque durante il percorso lo scorrimento dello scafo, quindi buona sintonia per questo doppio, per questa formazione brasiliana che ha ingaggiato un confronto con i rivali messicani, incrementando ogni quarto di gara il loro vantaggio.
So just hearing the Brazilian crew just crossing the line there, and they had a lovely run on the boat, long, powerful strokes that allowed them to open up that lead. They take the win here in the preliminary race for the PR2 mixed double, just as Mexico come in to take second place. A really spirited effort there. They did their best to try to get back into contention, and a close race nonetheless as they approach the finish mark. Just 11 seconds separating first and second there in the PR2 mixed double sculls. So we're back now with the next preliminary race. It is the PR3 Mixed Coxed Fours race, a 5-boat race here between Italy, USA, Brazil, Spain and Uzbekistan. They've gone through the first few hundred meters, and Leading it out, it is the Brazilian crew in lane 3, centre of the course, who have gone out at 38 strokes per minute, settling down to 36, and they've opened up a lead beside them. It's the USA crew in second place. They're the 1 and 2. A little bit further back then to Italy in third at the moment, ahead of Uzbekistan and Spain in fifth.
Preliminary race per il 4 con misto con 5 equipaggi in gara, tra cui troviamo anche la formazione azzurra composta da Elisa Corda, Carolina Foresti sesta alle Paralimpiadi di Parigi 2024, Luca Conti, Stanislao Liviciuk e al timone Chiara Reto. Si confrontano con la formazione americana, Brasile e Spagna. Queste sono le formazioni in gara. In questo momento a condurre le danze è la formazione brasiliana, lì al centro del campo di regata, tallonata dalla formazione americana. Terza posizione in questo momento, quando siamo poco dopo la boa dei primi 500 metri, la formazione azzurra che cerca di non far scappare i battistrada. L'Uzbekistan cerca di mantenere incollata la propria velocità a quella dello scafo azzurro, che rimane in terza posizione in questo momento.
So this Uzbekistani crew, quite a young crew. Rano in the bow seat, they're just 16 years of age. She is backed up in the 2 seat by an 18-year-old. So young, inexperienced crew from Uzbekistan, but they're still in the mix here, leading the Spanish crew at the moment in the race for 4th and 5th. Out there leading it out at the moment and from the start has been the Brazilian crew, taking with them the United States. They're side by side in lane 2 and lane 3, and the Brazilian crew not moving away from USA. So they're very much in contention here with just 4 or 5 meters separating first and second. A little bit further back then to the Italians, a couple of boat lengths in third place at the moment before opening up a lead ahead of the Uzbekistani crew, that young crew that I mentioned back in 4th place in Spain. A very experienced crew from the Spanish crew as well, and 19-year-old David Morales Paz in the coxed seat as well. He's the coach is David Morales Paz. Ana Gonzalez Calvo is the 19-year-old in the cox's seat for the Spanish crew. Uzbekistan at the moment getting the better of them in the race for 4th and 5th, but no doubt about the leaders here, but they are coming under increased pressure as they come up to the 1,000 meter mark. And Tim, it looks like Brazil did the early running, but USA really putting a push on here at the halfway mark.
Yeah, you're right, Richie. I was actually quite impressed by the Brazilian start. They took it up all the way to 43 strokes a minute, establishing that early lead. But now it is the middle kilometer of this race, and the quality of the American crew is starting to shine through, with 2 silver medalists from the Paralympic Games from Paris in that boat, in the stroke and the coxswain seat. So there's plenty of experience compared to the crew from Brazil, who is also quite a well-established crew, with 4 of the 5 crew members also racing in this event at the Paralympic Games in Paris, finishing 8th overall, and they are going toe-to-toe with the Americans. The Americans, though, with a new lineup. That's the 1-2, and on the far side it is Italy moving with them. Uzbekistan, that young crew you mentioned, Richie, slipping back slightly in the second half of this race, with Spain off the pace at the moment. But the race between Brazil and the United States is one to watch.
Se il Brasile aveva aperto le danze nei primi 1000 metri, e adesso sono gli Stati Uniti ad aver preso la posizione di testa, non molto lontani dal Brasile. In terza posizione troviamo la squadra azzurra, che sta combattendo per seguire le posizioni di testa, seguita poi dall'Uzbekistan, una crew, una barca con delle giovanissime. Infatti le 2 ragazze presenti hanno solo 16 e 18 anni. Bellissimo vedere il loro debutto in campo internazionale in questa specialità e approcciarsi al canottaggio così da giovani. E poi a chiudere troviamo invece l'equipaggio spagnolo, po' più di veterani. Abbiamo una classe 69 e una classe 73, eppure abbiamo invece come timoniera una classe 2005, quindi bellissimo vedere anche questa differenza d'età uniti per lo stesso obiettivo. Arrivati poi agli ultimi 400 metri abbiamo ancora in testa Gli Stati Uniti, sempre seguiti dal Brasile, che sta gestendo la gara con 3 colpi in meno rispetto all'America, e in terza posizione abbiamo la squadra azzurra con il numero più alto di colpi, 35 al minuto.
Great push there from the Americans, sees them taking the lead out of the hands of the Brazilian mixed four right beside them, and the Brazilian crew now starting to struggle a bit, and the Italians looking great there in lane number 1. Spain and Uzbekistan in a race of their own, but the United States thundering through, and now having that lead, opening up to 3/4 of a length ahead of Brazil, Italy, Uzbekistan and Spain coming into the Red Bull area. Yours to call, Richie.
Interesting thing, this Italian lineup that they have, the 3 and stroke of that boat, already raced in the PR3 men's pairs race this morning in 2 different boats where they finished 3rd and 4th. So they've already been racing today, so they're well warmed up, and they're putting it up to the Brazilians here as they come in towards the finish. United States look like in control. They've timed up to perfection in the second half of the race here, and just gotten the better of Brazil. The Italians trying to come back, but with a little bit of clear water. It looks like it is going to be the USA leading ahead of Brazil and Italy. They're the 1, 2 and 3, with the young Uzbekistan crew in 3rd place ahead of Spain as they come towards the line. It is going to be the USA taking the win in the preliminary race here for the PR3 mix 4 ahead of the crew from Brazil. They're the 1 and 2, and the Italians just coming in and winding up for the line here in 3rd place. And a little bit of clear water then back to that young Uzbekistani crew. A lot of them making their debut here and perform admirably, coming in 4th place ahead of the crew from Spain to close out these preliminary races for the PR categories. And next up, we're going to be back with the quarterfinals of the men's single sculls. But before we do that, we're going to head down to our man with the bike, down with the crowd. It is Luca.
Hey, welcome back. We are here in the grandstand. We've been watching the races, and Brazil did super well in para rowing. They won the double. Now they just came second in the 4. So back to the action. Of course, the double one was a big win for you, and you were telling me that this was a test. Am I right?
Yeah, use the regatta for test. And the ring, the temperature is very similar to Brazil, but Brazil is more hot, very hot, 42, 44 in summer. And now it's perfect for me and the athletes because it's cool for me.
Well, here in Varese, there are many teams that are not used to this heat and this sun, but you're saying that your athletes are coping super well. So training or racing in the sun is not a problem for you?
Not a problem, it's very easy. The summer is, for me, it's cold, for athletes, cold, it's relaxed. But using the regatta for training for China.
Okay, so what are you expecting from Shanghai, the World Championships?
I expect this podium.
Well, that's a big goal, eh? You want a medal?
Yeah, medal.
Okay, get ready then and keep training really hard. Over to Richie. Here we are having a lot of discussion about medals. Who is going to win a medal in Shanghai in the para rowing, Richie?
Oh, I'm not a betting man, and I certainly won't be putting any names to the test just yet. We'll see how the rest of the season goes, but it's looking very competitive across all the different categories there, and it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out in the next World Cup in Lucerne before we move on to the World Championships later on this season. Meanwhile, back at the action here, it is the quarterfinals of the men's single sculls. They've already raced this morning in the heats where we had that new qualification system of the first 2 going in to the final or into the quarterfinals, and then we had to check and see all the different times that were there to see who would join them in the finals, or in the quarterfinals, sorry. And now the first quarterfinal is underway. Just a reminder for everyone, 1st to 3rd will qualify directly into the semi-finals, and then the fastest times from the remainders will populate Final C and Final D. And in our first quarterfinal, we have Poland, Austria 1, USA, Uruguay 1, Uruguay 2, and Iraq. And they've already gone through 1,000 meters. We're going to head straight to Tim.
It's a blistering quarterfinal here with 2 scullers from Uruguay doing very well for themselves. It is Cetraro Berrillo who is leading the dance at the moment, but Luciano Garcia going with him, and also in one of those favoured centre lanes. And I say favoured, but the quickest qualifiers from the heats are placed in the centre lanes. We see the American Jacob Fillol, who is also doing quite well for himself in third position. The American, though, needs to keep an eye out on the Austrian Lindorfer to his left, because that's just a couple of feet separating them, with Cezary Litka from Poland and Bakr Al-Dulaimi from Iraq dropping off the pace. I think already in the second 500, these two athletes on the outside lanes were starting to feel the squeeze from the rest of the athletes. But so far so good. Bruno Cetaro Berrilio still in the lead, and going with them Garcia and Fillol from Uruguay and the USA.
Nella prima parte di gara i due atleti dell'Uruguay si sono dati molta battaglia, partendo fondamentalmente alla stessa velocità, arrivando ai 1000 solamente a poco meno di 2 secondi l'uno dall'altro. Ma ora, pian piano che ci stiamo avvicinando al terzo quarto di gara, troviamo sempre l'atleta dell'Uruguay che con 41 colpi al minuto sta facendo da battistrada, seguito dall'atleta americano che ricordiamo si era qualificato e ha partecipato alle ultime Olimpiadi di Parigi, sempre nel singolo, quindi sa anche lui gestire questo tipo di evento. Al terzo posto passiamo per adesso con l'atleta austriaco Lindorfer, seguito dall'atleta uruguaiano, dalla Polonia e dall'Iraq.
Quickly approaching the 50, well, already past 1500, quickly approaching the red buoy area. Indeed, not much changing at the front of the field, but one thing has changed, and that's the crucial places, the second place overall. 1, 2 and 3 go to the AB semi-final, and it was Luciano Garcia who was in a great position, but he's slipping back, Richie, and look on the far side, the Austrian pushing on and maybe even getting that third overall here.
Yeah, as indeed he's moved on to take that position from Garcia from Uruguay, and Jacob Fillol, who was our fastest sculler in the heats this morning, 6:48.84. And interesting, in heat 4, it was the 3 fastest times came from that race, USA, Norway and Italy, all over the 5 heats that were there. And it's going with form here now as they come in towards the finish. We're watching the USA just come in to take the lead ahead of Cetaro Berrilio of Uruguay and Austria in third place. They're the 1, 2 and 3. It looks like Garcia is going to be run out of it here. There's clear water back to him. So the 3 qualifying spots, it's looking good so far here for USA, ahead of Uruguay in second and Austria in third. So Jacob Fillol just timing his push there to perfection for the USA, taking the win there ahead of Uruguay in second and Austria in third. They're the 1, 2 and 3 qualifying for the AB semis. And now we're already underway with the next race, which is the second quarter-final between Switzerland, Brazil, Estonia, Netherlands, Belgium and Japan. They've gone through the first few hundred meters, already winging their way towards the 1,000 meter mark, and it's Netherlands leading it out here. Melvin Tweller coming towards you, Tim, and leading, it looks like, ahead of the scullers then from Belgium, similar to their race out earlier on that we saw in the heats.
Yeah, quite similar indeed, and we'll see if Melvin Tweller is able to hold on to his oars for the full 2,000 meters, because in the heat there was something wrong. I think his heart rate monitor or something, and he actually took it off and placed it in the boat at the 1,000, and he's taking a quick look to his right-hand side, because Gaston Mercier from Belgium is about 3/4 of a length down in second position. and then it's clear water, and there's absolutely nothing splitting Switzerland, Brazil and Japan at the moment for that all-important final qualification spot into the semi-final. But Melvin Tuella looking cool, calm and collected at that high rate of striking in his style, 37 strokes a minute, compared to the Belgian, who is slightly lower but also quite high at this stage of the race. So that's the 1-2, but 3 is up for grabs between 3 athletes at the moment.
Secondo quarto di finale per il singolo maschile, e dove troviamo in testa l'atleta olandese che stamattina abbiamo visto fermarsi e probabilmente togliere lo strap per controllare il battito cardiaco, poggiarlo nella barca e ripartire con la sua remata, pur portando a termine un'ottima gara che gli ha permesso infatti di di gareggiare in questo quarto di finale. Sta appunto mantenendo la testa con 36 colpi al minuto, seguito dall'atleta belga che ha vinto la sua batteria con un ottimo tempo, quindi sarà interessante vedere la sfida tra questi due singolisti che hanno un diverso modo di interpretare la gara a livello di colpi, e questo dipende anche sempre da nazione a nazione, perché ognuno ha il proprio modo, insomma, di gestire la potenza, di gestire la rapidità del colpo. Seguito poi nell'attuale terza posizione dall'atleta estone e poi dalla Svizzera subito dopo, dal Giappone e dal Brasile.
I think Melvin Tuella and the Belgian sculler Gaston Mercier have done just about enough to qualify for the semi-finals, and we were looking at the Tim Roth on the far side from Switzerland, who was in a great position, but now pushing through in quite a similar fashion like in this morning's heats. It is Mikhail Kustein from Estonia, who had a blistering final 500 meters this morning, and he's pushing through into second position overall, and he has a great turn of speed at the end of the race. We'll see if that gets him across the line second or third, but he's moving.
So they're just coming into view of the final few hundred meters here, and it's a case of déjà vu. I don't know what the Italian for déjà vu is, but it's Melvin Tuella leading it out from Gaston Mercier.
Ottima l'azione dell'atleta olandese Melvin Tuella, che dopo l'argento dello scorso anno in doppio si sta riproponendo nel singolo. Una barca luce il vantaggio che ha costruito sul diretto avversario, il belga, che cerca di tallonarlo. Poi per la terza piazza si è fatto avanti l'Estonia in acqua 3, che cerca di non far scappare i due battistrada.
So these 3 qualifying spots from the quarterfinals into the semi-finals looking secure so far. Melvin Tuella doing what needs to be done, just holding a little bit of a clear water lead over Gaston Mercier, who in turn has a 1-length lead over the Estonian, who did what needed to be done and get into third place. Clearwater then back to Tim Roth, Sakamura of Japan and Brazil to finish out the quarterfinal, second quarterfinal of the men's single sculls. So the results just coming up there, the 3 qualifying, it is going to be the Netherlands, Belgium and Estonia, and in 4th, 5th and 6th just coming up on screen, it was the Japanese sculler Sakamura who came up into 4th, ahead then of Tim Roth. Oh sorry, it was the Brazilian sculler who became 5th, ahead of Tim Roth of Switzerland in 6th. So these quarterfinals coming down fast and furious, just like the heats did this morning, and we're into quarterfinal 3 already. And in this we have Norway 2, Italy 1, New Zealand, Norway 1, People's Republic of China and Sweden, and they're already through 500. It was Logan Ulrich, similar to what we saw from the New Zealand sculler this morning, leading it out at the moment, ahead of Norway in 2nd, and People's Republic of China. They're the 1, 2 and 3 as they come up to the 1,000-meter mark, looking good so far, similar to what we saw in the heat. Logan Ulrich taking full control, Tim.
Yeah, he's a class of the field, and he's really motoring along. But look at the Norwegian going right beside him. It's those two athletes fighting for the lead here, and look at the People's Republic of China, Wei Han in lane number 5, actually also rowing past the Kiwi in a massive turn of speed. A big look from the Italian That is, of course, Davide Mumulo, who takes a big look to the Kiwi to see where he is relative to the front runners. But I'm actually amazed by the speed of the Chinese athlete at the moment as they stormed past 1,000 meters. It's a great race here at the front of the field. Italy still not out of it, but the athletes from Sweden and Norway on the far side, so it's Norway too. Martin Helseth is struggling a bit here in these conditions, and he is clear water down. But a great turn of speed there from Yule from Norway. Currently he's sitting first, but the Chinese athlete is on the move.
6 atleti per 3 posti disponibili nella semifinale. Questi atleti stanno combattendo uno contro l'altro per raggiungere e prendersi queste posizioni, prendersi la qualifica per questa semifinale, che poi può portare alla presa delle medaglie. Sta gestendo la gara l'atleta norvegese, che è partito con leggermente più ritardo rispetto all'atleta neozelandese, però ai 1000 metri ha aperto la strada e ha cominciato lui a battere sul corso. E ora ci avviciniamo ai 600 metri di gara, dove abbiamo ancora l'atleta norvegese in testa, seguito dall'atleta cinese, che sta pian piano recuperando velocità e cercando di raggiungere quella prima posizione. Poi seguito dall'atleta italiano Mumulo Davide, e a seguire abbiamo anche l'atleta svedese e l'atleta neozelandese. Però c'è qualche forse problema a livello di risultato? No, ok, abbiamo ancora sempre l'atleta norvegese che sta gestendo appunto la gara da davanti, seguito poi da tutti gli altri.
I'm not sure what's happening with Ulrich, Logan Ulrich from New Zealand at the moment. He seems to find some speed and then he loses it again. He is dead level with David Mumulo from Italy at the moment for that all-important and final qualification spot to the semi-final. They are going toe-to-toe with China. That momentum which Wai Han had at 1,000 seems to be, well, sort of building up again. He struggled a bit in the third 500, but Yule from Norway is still at the front of the field. About 10 meters separates him from the Chinese athletes. And look at Ulrich go. He's found an amazing bit of speed as he moves into third position there, Richie.
Unbelievable here. All things are changing in the run-in towards the finish. Looking good for Norway and China. The race is on for third, and I'm going to let Rossano hopefully get this Italian sculler back.
Finale fantastico per questi 4 singoli. L'atleta norvegese si vede risucchiato dal cinese, ma grande rientro da parte di Davide Mumulo, che cerca di sopravanzare la Nuova Zelanda per il terzo posto. Un finale incandescente per 4 singolisti che si giocano 3 posizioni. Mantiene la testa della gara la Norvegia 1, Cina, e attendiamo l'ufficialità per il terzo posto. Confermata Norvegia 1, Stelmark si aggiudica questo quarto di finale, poi Cina per il secondo posto, e terza piazza per Logan Ulrich, l'atleta neozelandese, quarta posizione per 17 centesimi dal terzo posto per il nostro Davide Mumulo, che ha fatto una gara eccezionale.
What an amazing finish that we saw there. All the crews pushing right towards the line. That was the sounder of the hooter just went off in a flurry there. They were so packed up coming in towards this quarter-final race, and it was just the Norwegian sculler just holding on to the lead ahead of China, and it was Logan Ulrich, our early leader, just managing to hold on to that third spot into the semi-final. So Davide Mumulo unfortunately not making it, and he will go hopefully into final C or final D, and again that closes out the third quarter-final and already underway for the last of the quarterfinals, so we won't hang around too far. Back here at the finish line, we'll head straight up to the 1,000-meter mark, and we can see a familiar sight for you, Tim. It's Netherlands leading the way.
Yeah, Simon van Dorp is absolutely flying, but he needs to, because he is feeling the pressure from Tim Bries from Belgium to his right. It's absolutely fantastic to see that very tall figure of Simon van Dorp racing head-to-head with the former lightweight from Belgium. It's less less than half a length separating the 1-2. Then there's a bit of a gap. It is, I think, Aidan Thompson from Great Britain, currently third across the line at 1,000, just a whisker ahead of Marco Selva from Italy, with Ryuta Awakawa from Japan sixth across that halfway mark, and Mamatkulov from Uzbekistan fifth at the moment. But a great race from the two athletes from the Netherlands and Belgium at the moment, and Italy also on the move, I think, for that third and final qualification spot.
Che bello vedere così da vicino questa battaglia tra questi singolisti, dove vediamo l'atleta olandese e l'atleta belga combattere passando i 1000 metri a solo 56 centesimi di differenza. Sarà davvero un quarto di finale molto tirato, che noi saremo entusiasti di vedere e seguire fino all'ultimo metro. Mantiene la testa Van Dorp con 36 colpi al minuto, seguito dall'atleta belga che è non molto distante con 37 colpi al minuto. Terzo abbiamo l'atleta della Gran Bretagna, Thompson Aiden, seguito poi invece dall'atleta italiano Selva Marco, dall'Uzbekistan e poi dal Giappone. E ora con ormai 600 metri verso la fine della gara vediamo come si svolge il resto dei colpi, della velocità di questi singolisti e chi riuscirà ad entrare in semifinale.
Simon van Dorp is being kept on his toes all the way down to the line. There's less than a length separating him from Tim Breese from Belgium. Aidan Thompson from Great Britain, just little over 2.5 seconds behind them. That is the top three at the moment. Marco Selva from Italy struggling a bit in that third quarter. Coming into the final 500, it is still everyone's race. I think Simon van Dorp now just really pushing on, putting in the power he has. He's a phenomenal athlete in terms of the amount of power he can produce, and he's really laying it down at the moment. Quickest boat out on the water, but a great sprint coming from Aidan Thompson from the Great Britain as well. Tim Breese starting to feel the strain. He's up almost 40 strokes a minute, but in terms of pure pace, he is the slowest of the top three athletes at the moment. So Richie, Simon van Dorp, I think doing what he must do, but it's not made an easy quarterfinal for him by his competitors.
Not at all. He's under pressure the whole way down, but he is in control in that centre lane, able to look left and right and see what challenges might come his way. He's holding off Tim Bryce of Belgium, and a great race from Aidan Thompson, third in the heat this morning, but now looking to qualify into the semi-finals and the run into the finish.
Simon van Dorp ha deciso di vincere questo quarto di finale. Nella seconda parte di gara ha pigiato sulla pedaliera, ha cercato di staccare l'atleta belga che l'ha tallonato a pochi metri fino a quel momento. In questa fase ha messo luce tra la sua poppa e la prua dei diretti avversari. In seconda posizione ancora il Belgio, ma incalzato dalla Gran Bretagna, che è lì veramente a pochi centimetri. Ottima la gara anche di Marco Selva, che cerca di mantenere il contatto per provare a entrare nei primi tre. Quarto Marco sul traguardo.
So sprint finish there towards the line, and Marco Selva did his very best to get back into contention for the third qualifying spot, getting an overlap and pushing all the way to the line. But it was the Netherlands, Belgium and Great Britain. They're the three that advance onto the semi-finals. Marco Selva just missing out ahead then of, it looks like, the crew from Uzbekistan coming in ahead of the Japanese sculler back in 6th place, and this will close out the quarterfinals. So we'll know who our semi-finalists are, and then we'll have a look at the times from the quarterfinal races to find out who will populate final C and final D of those races as well. So before we get into our last two preliminary races, let's head back down to the crowd, where I believe, Luca, you have found some of the best supporters in the world, the Aussies.
Yes, you're right. I'm here with the Aussie, like a bunch of guys who decided to come here to watch and support the men's 8. So Varese is your second home, right?
Yeah, it is. Been pretty well looked after. We've got our European training centre just on the other side of the lake here, so love coming back here every year.
How's the lake? What do you think? Is it a good place where to train?
I mean, we have to put up with you, Luca, but it's pretty good. It's pretty sweet.
Thank you for saying that. Well, actually, you're making my life so tough. Anyway, so what's your favorite gelato?
Il Gelato Giusti. Shout out to our man Giordano up the hill from the ETC.
Well, it seems like you know the area super well. Actually, what are you expecting from the men's 8?
Oh, hopefully something good. I mean, I wasn't good enough to get into the 8. I couldn't touch and feel my way through that one. So hopefully they're decent. We'll find out in about 5 minutes.
Well, so let's wait and see what they be able to do in 5 minutes time from now.
And before we get to that men's race closing out the afternoon program, we have the women's ace preliminary race between Italy, USA, Germany, Great Britain, Australia and China, and they are already underway and coming up on the 500 meter mark as well. These fast boats are approaching that all-important marker. It's GB leading the way, ahead of the crew from Australia in second place. They're the 1 and 2 at the moment. Italy staying in touch. They're the 1, 2 and 3. A little bit further back to USA, but they do have an overlap back with Germany in 4th and 5th. And the only crew really struggling at the moment, it looks like the People's Republic of China, off the pace at the moment, coming through 500. But in these 8 races, anything can change. So they're powering on now towards the second quarter of this race here, settling into their race paces. Italy still up at 40 strokes per minute, but we're well used to seeing the Italian crews stroking quite high, and indeed the German crew up at 39 as well, using all the power to try get back into contention into 4th place at the moment. They're looking to get back into the top 3. No doubt about the leader though, Great Britain powering on here towards the 800 meter mark. And Tim, they're not having it their own way though, because the Australian crew right beside them in lanes 4 and 5, they're really very little between their boat speed, their stroke rate, everything is going the way of these two crews. But GB at the moment just getting the better of the Australian crew, coming up to the halfway mark.
Yeah, coming up to the halfway mark, it is the European champions from Great Britain leading the field, and indeed the Aussie 8 looks quite similar, but that Aussie 8 is a mix of experienced athletes and a few under 23 medalists in there, and it's coming together absolutely perfect. They are thundering through the track. They're already at 1,000 meters gone. Great Britain still leading on the far side. All eyes will be drawn between the USA and Italy, who are basically level as they cross into the second half of this race. It's about a canvas for Great Britain at the moment, ahead of Australia, then the USA, Italy in 4th, Germany sandwiched in between in them in 5th, and that development crew from the People's Republic of China clear water down. Fantastic racing here out on the lake, fast racing. GB absolutely going for it, going for the win here.
Anche se una preliminary race è sempre un'ottima opportunità per provare prima di tutto la propria strategia di gara, perché ricordiamo che gli 8 hanno un timoniere o una timoniera che aiuta, anzi è fondamentale per la gestione dei colpi della gara, chiama i movimenti da fare durante la gara, perché è importante che 8 teste, 9 con le timoniere siano all'unisono, perché è importante che tutti nello stesso momento riescano a trasmettere velocità e potenza per muovere la barca. E troviamo adesso ancora la Gran Bretagna, che è campionessa d'Europa, a mantenere il controllo su tutta la gara, seguita subito dopo con fondamentalmente gli stessi numeri di colpi. Dall'Australia in terza posizione troviamo gli Stati Uniti con ragazze che hanno già fatto questa specialità alle Olimpiadi, e ricordiamo che sono medaglie d'argento ai mondiali di qualifica, quindi sicuramente sanno quello che fanno. Seguita poi dalla squadra azzurra, con qualche cambiamento che abbiamo potuto vedere dalla torretta di equipaggio, e poi a chiudere la Germania e la Cina.
So it's still Great Britain out in front. I do love the way they collectively grab the water at the front end of the stroke, underrating most crews, but having the highest boat speed coming into the final 300 meters. The USA actually moving through and putting the pressure on Australia. The USA currently in second position. The Aussies slipping back into third. Then it is Italy ahead of Germany and the People's Republic of China. Yours to call across the line there, Richie?
Really powerful from USA to move into second place. They raced already in the fours race where they came first and second in their heats, and they're at the back racing in the eight. A lot of the crews doubling up, Italy, USA, Germany and Great Britain all doubling up in other boats as well. So a lot of racing under the belt at this regatta. In full control though, GB, great result for USA here to power into second ahead of the crew from Australia in third and Italy back in fourth.
Non c'è nulla di particolare in palio in questa regata, in questa preliminary race, però abbiamo visto in ogni caso la determinazione dell'equipaggio inglese che è partito subito davanti, sta cercando di mantenere la testa del percorso, ma la formazione degli Stati Uniti sta incrementando, ottima la velocità appunto di USA che cerca di rincalzare, di riportarsi all'interno della lunghezza della barca inglese, seconda l'America, subito dopo la Gran Bretagna, terza posizione per l'Australia e quindi vediamo le nostre azzurre all'acqua 1 che vanno a completare il loro percorso davanti alla Germania e finisce quindi questa preliminary race con la formazione cinese che va a concludere il proprio percorso. Tutte in finale ovviamente e vedremo poi l'esito della gara quando ci sarà da assegnare le medaglie.
So just watching the young development crew, some of the youngest competitors here, just 18 years of age, 17 and 18 years of age, coming in sixth place there. But just to recap the finish of the preliminary race in the women's 80, it was Great Britain pushed all the way to the line. USA really put it up to them there. Great second half of the race for USA to power on and move from third into second place ahead of Australia in third, Italy in fourth, Germany in fifth and the People's Republic of China in sixth. So straight back to the action in our final race of day one here at World Cup Varese. It is the preliminary race for the men's coxed 8 and already through the 500 metre mark it is the local crew from Italy leading it out ahead of Great Britain just by 0.01 of a second through the 500 metre mark. Germany in third ahead of Australia, Italy 2 and the People's Republic of China in sixth place. But we're going to head straight up to Tim and Alessandra to give us the latest update, and really very little between the two crews from Great Britain, maybe just ahead of the Italian crew now, Tim.
Yeah, phenomenal pace by the Italians in their first 500, but the quality of GB8, the European champions, shone through in that second 500, and they've just about pipped the Italians to the 1,000 metre mark first, but just a canvas separating Great Britain and Italy won for the first and second position. A great showing as well from the guys in the green boat. Germany, I think now in third place overall, and then it's the Aussies, a crew composed of mostly of collegiate athletes from the US in this 8, and they are going all out to test their mettle here out on the water. A great showing as well from the People's Republic of China. Just one crew member in that 8 is not making his international debut here on Lago di Varese, so it's a young development crew from China once more. They are currently 6th overall, but still in contention, and a great move now from Italy, trying to regain the initiative out of the hands of the British.
Last one, fast one. Gara velocissima, l'8 maschile, la più veloce. Non sembra neanche una preliminary race perché sono appena passati dai 1000 e abbiamo visto una barca affiancata all'altra, pronta a muoversi sull'altra, pronta a muovere, a superare la barca che hanno di fianco. Troviamo in testa ancora la Gran Bretagna con 36 colpi al minuto, seguita però da una Germania che con un movimento fluido, mossa per mossa, palata per palata, ha cercato di superare gli altri equipaggi. Terzo posto seguito dalla squadra Italia 1, poi abbiamo di nuovo a seguire l'Australia, l'Australia, la Cina, e ricordiamo la Cina è una barca molto giovane, quindi anche qui atleti che hanno possibilità di sviluppare e di investire per il loro futuro da canottieri.
Great Britain putting in a massive push here in the third quarter, and they storm out to almost half a length lead ahead of a resurgent German 8, fourth at the Europeans, and they are here to get a medal, and it's certainly a good showing from the German 8, with Italy 1 currently in third position at the moment. Just 250 meters left to go. So for the last time today, back to you, Richie.
Thanks, Tim and Alessandria. What a great way to close out the racing here. Really exciting race in the women's race, and we thought we were going to have a close finish here, but GB looking like they're in full control here. The question is, who's going to get the better of Germany and Italy? Italy on the charge.
Ultimi metri per questa preliminare race dell'otto maschile, 2 le miraglie azzurre in questa regata. Italia 1, la formazione che è arrivata terza all'europeo, è partita fortissimo passando di un centesimo, ma passando in testa ai primi 500 metri, poi è stata sopravanzata dalla formazione inglese che adesso sta cercando di mantenere la testa della regata, tallonata dalla Germania che intanto si è messa in seconda posizione, e quindi Italia 1 e poi Italia 2 a seguire, quindi le due formazioni italiane, Australia e Cina. Questo è l'esito della preliminary race dell'otto maschile.
So really strong finish from the German crew there. Solid second half of the race, seeing them move from third place into second and really put it up to the Great British crew. But it was just a length as they came into the finish that Great Britain took the win there in the preliminary men's race. Germany in second place and just getting the better of Italy 1 and Italy 2 in third and fourth, but all to play for, of course, between these crews when we advance on into the final. It was Australia in fifth and the People's Republic of China in sixth. So that closes out our afternoon schedule and 49 races that we've gotten through on day one of World Cup Varese. Absolutely perfect rowing conditions here. Lovely tailwind towards the second half of the programme that pushed the crews down towards the line here. A nice breeze, I'm sure they enjoyed as well. And a huge thank you to all of the officials and volunteers for a very successful day. And of course for everyone tuning in at home and supporting their crews, coaches and countries. And to everyone here as well, a fantastic day's racing under the belt. We'll go catch our breath and we'll be back tomorrow starting at 11 AM with another packed schedule of day 2 of World Cup Varese.
Bene, il programma di questa giornata si è concluso, 49 gare in totale tra la mattina e il pomeriggio, molte gare veramente avvincenti, questa formula del progression system nuovo che permette, che anzi obbliga tutti gli equipaggi a impegnarsi al massimo nelle eliminatorie, rende veramente spettacolare ed avvincente ogni regata fin dalle prime battute. Con oggi concludiamo, vi ringraziamo per l'attenzione, ci vediamo domani alle 11 iniziando con le finali D, a seguire poi semifinali e finali nel pomeriggio, quindi un'altra giornata di spettacolo, di canottaggio qui sul lago di Varese per la prima prova di Coppa del Mondo. Grazie a tutti.